Just a reminder to vote in this week's Locals poll, where you decide what deck I take to Locals every single week. Without any further ado, I hope you enjoyed the video. What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel, and we have a deck profile for the deck that we took to Locals yesterday. This is Odd Eyes, and this is actually kind of unique because this updated deck profile is coming to YouTube before the actual replay with the updated deck profile hits YouTube, so that's kind of unique there. But yeah, so this is my updated Odd Eyes deck profile. And yeah, here's a quick cut to what the deck looks like on paper, then we'll get to the card by card. Okay, so starting off with the Pendulum monsters, we're going to be running 3 copies of Odd Eyes Revolution Dragon. This card is an absolutely wonderful starter. So basically, if it's in our hand, we can discard it and pay 500 life points to add a level 8 or lower Dragon Pendulum monster to our hand. So this can be good for searching for whatever you want to scale, or if you want to Pendulum summon a certain monster, this is your guy. So we're running him at 3 because we want to see him as much as possible. Next, we are also running 1 Perform a Pal Odd Eyes Dissolver. So this helps us protect our Pendulum monsters from battle destruction, and then it also lets us fusion summon. This just helps us to facilitate things like Rune Eyes and even Starving Venom just a little easier, more consistently. Next, one of the main cards in the deck is Odd Eyes Arc Pendulum Dragon, running 3 copies of that. So it's our scale 8, and then it also allows us to special summon an Odd Eyes monster from the hand, deck, or graveyard once per turn when a different Odd Eyes card is destroyed. So this is a really great card. You want to see this as much as possible. Next, we're going to be running 3 copies of Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon. So, obviously, Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon, he gets the end phase search and pop effect in the end phase, which helps trigger this. And then also, when he battles a monster, battle damage is doubled, so really nice trying to help push for OTKs. Next, running 2 Odd Eyes Phantom Dragon and 2 Odd Eyes Persona Dragon. So these are they can kind of go back and forth in the scales depending on what the situation dictates, which is why I'm covering them together. So Odd Eyes Persona is a scale 1, so obviously if we're trying to summon a lower level monster from our hand, we want this in the scale. But if we want to pump up one of our monsters by 1200 attack, this is the way to go. Then I also like to Pendulum summon this one, because when it deals battle damage, you can if you have 2 Odd Eyes cards in your Pendulum zone, you inflict 2400 burn damage. So that's really nice there. Persona also has a pretty nice on-field effect where it can negate the effects of an extra deck monster as a target, and then it negates the effect. I used that in the match against Danger Dark World in order to bait the Grapha Fusions effect. So that way I could then summon Odd Eyes Raging Dragon and win the game. Next, wrapping up the Pendulums is Odd Eyes Mirage Dragon, Perform a Pal Odd Eyes Synchron, and Perform a Pal Gold Fang, each at 1. Okay, so basically, this is just a backup scale 8 to have. Then it does have an on-field effect where we can make a Odd Eyes unable to be destroyed by battle or a card effect once per turn. But this is mainly just as a backup scale 8. That's mainly what it is, just in case we're unable to get to Arc Pendulum. Perform by Odd Eyes Synchron. It's mainly for synchro plays, but technically since it is a spellcaster, we can use it as material for Rune Eyes as well. Next is Perform a Pal Gold Fang. This is mainly to help summon Beast Eyes. Although, since it is level 4, you can overlay it for Dark Rebellion, but that doesn't really come up that much. It's mainly to summon Beast Eyes Pendulum Dragon. Next, for the Ritual monsters, we have the Odd Eyes Pendulum Graph, and one of the MVPs of the night, Odd Eyes Gravity Dragon. So, a little bit about my Odd Eyes deck build is I wanted to give love to all the dragons, especially ones that we're going to cover in a minute that you normally don't see very much in other Odd Eyes builds, so I wanted to give those guys some love. But so with the Rituals, 300 burn for each extra deck summon they do, pay 500 life points to activate any effects, and then when this is summoned, as a spell speed 4 effect, you get to bounce all spells and traps on the field back to their hand. It was really good to do that against Marincess. Then with this one, you can negate a spell, put it in the Pendulum Zone, and then if it's in your Pendulum Zone during the end phase, you return it to your hand, and you get to search for a ritual spell. So it can self-replace itself. So that's really good. Pendulum Graph never came up, but Gravity was one of the MVPs of the night. Alright, next to the non-Pendulum monsters, we're running one Odd Eyes Lancer and one Odd Eyes Advanced Dragon. So, Lancer's really good. It makes it to where your opponent can't activate spells or traps when it attacks, and then it can also protect your Odd Eyes cards from destruction by substituting a different card in either your hand or on your field. So this is really nice. This really came in clutch for me against Danger Dark World, because I was able to just destroy something in my hand instead of losing one of my monsters to Grapha's discard effect. Odd Eyes Advanced Dragon, basically we can just tribute this summon this by tributing another high-level Odd Eyes, and then when it's summoned, it destroys and inflicts burn damage. But the best part is that it doesn't target, so that's really nice. Just kind of another way to kind of get back into things. Next, we're running Odd Eyes Saber Dragon and Odd Eyes Wizard Dragon. So these guys are kind of counterparts. You usually don't summon these with their own effects. You usually get these off of either Arc Pendulum or you search them. But basically, Saber Dragon, when it destroys a monster by battle, you get to destroy another monster your opponent controls. That also came up in the match against Dark World. I was able to out a, I think it was Rainbow, because it was at 3,300 that way. And then Odd Eyes Wizard Dragon is really one of the MVPs of the deck, not just last night, but, like, period. Because when he gets destroyed, you get special summon a new Odd Eyes from your deck or your graveyard, but usually you do that with the deck, but I did use it for the graveyard a couple times. And you get to search Spiral Flame Strike, and that's not once per turn. So you can do that, and then you can also bring this back with Arc Pendulum, so you can use the effect again. So that's really nice. We are also running 2 copies of the original Odd Eyes Dragon, and then also Perform a Pal Turn Trooper. Turn Trooper is mainly just to summon Brave Eyes with, because it's a warrior. It's basically all you need to know for that. The original Odd Eyes Dragon is just another level 7 name that we can special summon off of one of our floating effects. And then if we do attack with it and destroy something, we do get some burn damage, so that can kind of help facilitate OTKs. So that's that there. And finally, for the last monsters, we're actually running 2 Janky Magician. And this, of course, helps us to get cards like Odd Eyes Raging Dragon, Odd Eyes Rebellion Dragon. And then, of course, it's also Spellcaster, so you can use it for Rune Eyes. So that's really nice. Alright, next is the spells. There are no traps in this deck, so next is just the spells. So first, running 3 copies of Sky Iris. This is our field spell. Makes our Pendulum Scales untargetable. And then we can pop a card we control to search for an Odd Eyes card. So that includes some of the spells we'll cover in a little bit, as well as any monsters, and this can facilitate the effect of Arc Pendulum, so that's really nice there. Next, for our rituals, we're running 2 Odd Eyes Advent, and then we're also running 3 copies of Odd Eyes Fusion. So this is basically more of like a going second deck. Both of these have a clause where if your opponent controls 2 monsters, or 2 or more monsters, and you control 0, you can use monsters in your extra deck as material for these. So I ended up using both of those effects throughout the night, so both of these are really good. We'll get to the fusions shortly. Next, one of the best cards in the deck is Spiral Flame Strike. So you are, of course, searching this off of the Odd Eyes Wizard Dragon, but I am also running 3 because I want to get this as soon as possible. Also, this is not once per turn, and it has 2 effects you can choose, either a search of a level 7 Odd Eyes, or you can destroy something if you have an Odd Eyes card on your field. Neither one of those effects are once per turn. So, yeah, easily one of the best cards in the deck. Just wonderful. And then finally, for the final card in the main deck, we're running 1 Super Poly. So that way we can say, Fusion Summon during the battle phase to push for an OTK, or we can use it to interrupt our opponent's plays. I actually opened this in the second game against Danger Dark World, but unfortunately time was called during his main phase, so I didn't even get to use Super Poly, but it was literally the first card I drew. So I was very happy, but I didn't get to use it, but it's okay. Next, moving on to the extra deck. So starting with the Fusion monsters, we've got Vortex, Starving Venom, Beast Eyes, Brave Eyes, Rune Eyes, and Odd Eyes Venom. Okay, so Odd Eyes Venom typically doesn't get summoned. I usually use this as either Fusion or Ritual fodder with Odd Eyes Fusion, Odd Eyes Advent. So that's basically all you need to know for that. Next, Rune Eyes. So it takes a Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon plus a Spellcaster. And then depending on the level of the monster, it can make either 2 attacks or 3 attacks on monsters. Level of Spellcaster, rather. And then if you use a Pendulum Summon monster, or at least one Pendulum Summon monster as material, it's unaffected by your opponent's card effects that turn. So that's really nice. Just a nice way to kind of get past annoying effects like continuous spells and traps, things like that. Next is Brave Eyes. So when it gets summoned, it drops all your opponent's monsters down to 0. It just takes a Pendulum Dragon plus a Warrior, and then also negates the activated effects of all monsters your opponent controls with 0 attack. And then if you attack something, it's not destroyed by battle, you can banish it. This one, I summoned it in against the stun player, but unfortunately he had skill drain up, so it was basically just a 3000 vanilla, but we still summoned it, so that was nice. Nice that I could summon him. Next is Beast Eyes. We didn't get to summon this one, unfortunately, but basically it just takes Dark Dragon plus a Beast, and you can contact fuse it, basically by tributing them, so that's really nice. So when it destroys an opponent's monster by battle, you inflict burn damage equal to the Beast-type monster's attack. So since we use Perform Power Goldfang, it's a free 1800 damage. So that's really nice there. Next is Starving Venom. This is going to be one of your Super Poly targets, because this is, kind of like a Yuya deck. He had Starving Venom at the end of the show. So I don't think Starving Venom really needs any more explanation. Next is Odd Eyes Vortex Dragon. This is your main Odd Eyes Fusion target. So basically, when it's special summoned, not just Fusion summoned, but special summoned, you can bounce an opponent's attack position monster, and then by shuffling a face-up Pendulum monster in your extra deck back into the deck, you have an Omni negate. So that's really nice. We use that to negate skill drain once or twice. Next, for the Synchros, we got Clear Wing Synchro Dragon, Odd Eyes Meteor Burst Dragon, and Odd Eyes Wing Dragon. So, Clear Wing Synchro Dragon, this is, of course, one of the main things we're going to be summoning with the Perform Upal Odd Eyes Synchron. And it's protection against targeting effects for level 5 or higher monsters. So if we're going against, like, say, a Synchro deck or something, that's a nice little choice there. Odd Eyes Meteor Burst can can summon a monster from our Pendulum Zone. And then also, if it attacks, then your opponent's monsters can't activate their effects in the battle phase. So if there's any annoying battle phase effects, this is nice counter. Odd Eyes Wing Dragon, very similarly to Odd Eyes Venom Dragon. I usually just use this as fodder for Odd Eyes Fusion or Odd Eyes Advent. Nothing really much more to say there. And now for the Xyz monster. So we've got Dark Rebellion. This one doesn't get summoned very much, but in case it does come up, we have it. And now for the rank 7 ones. We've got Absolute Dragon, Odd Eyes Rebellion Xyz Dragon from Monster's Revenge, Odd Eyes Rebellion Dragon Overlord, my man Odd Eyes Raging Dragon, and Odd Eyes Rebellion Dragon. So, Absolute Dragon, it's an attack negate, and then this can float into the Vortex Dragon when it gets outed, so that's really nice. Just helps you kind of keep your board presence up. Odd Eyes Rebellion Xyz Dragon, I summoned this one once or twice, and basically, I really like this one. This is becoming one of my more favored extra deck monsters for the Xyz department, because basically you just need 2 level 7 pendulums, and then you can detach one, target up to 2 monsters your opponent controls with 3,000 or less, and destroy them. So that's really nice. And then if it gets destroyed, you can place it in your pendulum zone, or you can pendulum summon it face up from your extra deck if you can pendulum summon level 7, which is, of course, what this deck wants to do, so that's, that's not an issue. And then if it's still on the field, or if you pendulum summon it back during, so basically any other turn that it wasn't Xyz summon, you can just overlay that monster for this, which is Odd Eyes Rebellion Dragon Overlord. And if you do, then you can literally just attack 3 times. So you can literally just have this. It's like, oh, my turn, draw, standby main, overlay, boom, attack 3 times. We did not summon this one, unfortunately, because we ended up not needing to, but it's there if we need it. So you can use, so like literally, if you have the other one on the field, like say your opponent didn't kill it, you can use its effect, pop 2, overlay, attack 3 times. So just a nice little way to end the game. And now, Odd Eyes Raging Dragon, my favorite Odd Eyes extra deck monster. The entire reason I wanted to build this deck in the first place was this guy right here. Alright, and boy did he come in clutch. 3 games, 3 different games, he clutched out and won us the game. So basically, it just takes 2 level 7, but if you just use 2 level 7 monsters, then he's basically a vanilla. If one of the materials was an Xyz monster, and that's the reason we run Janky Magician, because it can turn your rank 7 into a level 7 monster for an Xyz summon, you can detach a material, destroy all cards your opponent controls, against 200 attack for each, and he can attack twice. So that's really nice. Just a board wipe, pumps himself up, and attack twice. Now, Odd Eyes Rebellion Dragon. It's a little more situational, but if you can get the effect off, then the payoff is actually arguably higher than Raging Dragon even. But in the current matchups that I had, I went for Raging over Rebellion, because I figured that was, because each time they had at least one face down spell or trap, so I wanted to clear that before attacking. But basically, when this one, it's basically the same thing. It only gets its effect when you use a rank 7 to summon it, or rather an Xyz monster, but I usually use the Janky Magician on the Absolute Dragon to do this. And so basically, when it gets summoned with, the Xyz monster as material, then you can destroy all level 7 or lower monsters that your opponent controls as possible. And then for each one that gets destroyed, they take 1,000 burn damage. And then if you inflict that damage, he gets 3 attacks. So it's a little more situational because they have to have level 7 or lower monsters. And most of the time when I did that, they either had no monsters or level 8 or higher monsters. So I went for Raging Dragon instead. But Rebellion Dragon, when you do use it, you get just insane value. Alright, so yeah, that's going to be it for the actual deck profile portion. So now we're going to shuffle up, and then we'll get to the test hands. Alright, let's see what we get. Alright, so we got Arc Pendulum. Ooh, we got Super Poly. That's nice. Fun fact about Super Poly, I drew it twice against Marincess, and I couldn't use it. So, big sad. Odd Eyes Fusion. Okay, that's nice. Odd Eyes Advent. And Janky Magician. Okay, so this is more of a going second deck. So to emulate going second. Okay, we got Odd Eyes Dragon. So that's not terrible. So basically, what we would do here just kind of depends on what our opponent has. But assuming they have at least 2 monsters, we could activate Odd Eyes Fusion. We would summon the Vortex Dragon by sending off the Odd Eyes Venom and Odd Eyes Wing from our extra deck, because, you know, we don't really summon those very much. The only time I would ever summon one of those is off of the Absolute Dragon effect, if Vortex was already gone. Then we can bounce an opponent's attack position monster. Then we can scale up with Janky and Arc Pendulum. And we can go ahead and Pendulum summon for the Odd Eyes Dragon here. So what we could do is we could go ahead and attack, boop boop, and then main phase 2. Since we don't have anything in our face-up extra deck, what we could do, just go ahead and overlay into Absolute. Then during our opponent's turn, when they declare an attack, we can detach the Vortex Dragon, negate the attack, and then we can special summon an Odd Eyes from our graveyard. So then we can special summon this back and get another bounce. And then we would also have the set Super Poly to interrupt, so we could go for, you know, maybe a Starving Venom or something like that. So yeah, that's what we would do given that situation. We'll do one more quick test hand, and then that'll be it. All right, let's see what we get this time. Okay, nice, very nice. Okay, not bad. Again, not bad. Nice. Okay, so again, this is what we'd be starting with, but we like to go second, so assuming we'd get... Ooh, this is... Oh, this hand is incredible. Oh my goodness. Okay, so basically, you know, because we could, just like with the last one, we could start out with the Odd Eyes Fusion play to summon Vortex, but just for the sake of it, we're going to pretend that the Odd Eyes Fusion isn't there, because I want to showcase a different combo here, just for the sake of time. So we're going to activate Sky Iris. Alright, then we're going to activate Revolution, discard, pay 500 life points, search for an Arc Pendulum. Oh, well, there you go. Alright, then we're going to scale up. Boom. Boom. Alright, then we're going to activate Sky Iris. We'll target Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon. And then if that effect goes through, you know, assuming there's no Ash, it gets popped. We can search for any Odd Eyes card we want. So, yeah, I'll just get Phantom Dragon. Alright, then in a new chain, the effect of Arc Pendulum will trigger. We get special summon Odd Eyes from the deck. So one of the ones I like to summon when I already have Wizard either in my hand or on the field is the Lancer Dragon, because it helps protect our other monsters. So I really like Lancer Dragon. It's one of my favorite main deck Odd Eyes Dragons. So, alright, so now what we're going to do is, again, we're pretending that Odd Eyes Fusion doesn't exist here, because we could have already summoned, before doing all that, we could have done Vortex, and now we'd have a negate with the Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon, but that's not ideal, because what we want to do is we want to go ahead and scale up the Janky Magician. Alright, then we're going to Pendulum summon 1, 2, and hopefully you can still see in the extra monster zone, 3. Alright, so now what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and we'll overlay these two. Which ones you overlay don't necessarily matter for this play, because we're going for Absolute Dragon. But if you wanted to summon this one, you would need to do the 2 Pendulums. But for this, we're just going to do Absolute. Alright, we're going to activate Janky Magician, targeting Absolute Dragon. For next Z summon this turn, since it's a rank 7, it can be treated as a level 7. So then we're going to overlay these two. These materials get sent to the graveyard. We're going to overlay these two. For the boy, the one, the only, Odd Eyes Raging Dragon. Then since he has an Xyz Monsters material, we'll activate his effect, detach, pop everything on our opponent's field. He gains 200 attack for each, and he can attack twice. So, boom, 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 most likely game. So that's going to be it for this deck profile. I hope you enjoyed. This deck was really, really fun to play at locals. We ended up getting 2nd place, which was really nice. Our only loss was to Marincess, and we just weren't able to power through in Game 1. And then in Game 2, we got hit with the Zelantis lock, since the opponent special summons the monsters off of the Zelantis effect. He could only summon waters, so we unfortunately didn't do too good against Marincess, but otherwise, we did really good. We got 2nd place with this deck. It's really fun. I'm really loving the edits that I made to the deck. It makes it a lot more consistent and just increases the overall power level. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. Please continue to vote in the locals polls. I really enjoy having you guys determine what I take to locals. I just think it's more fun that way. So yeah, that's going to be it. Be sure to vote, like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff, and I'll see you next time.